So, hey folks, what's up? I welcome you all to the day 3 of our bootcamp on AZ 900, and I hope you all must be learning and enjoying the 2 days of the bootcamp. So, let's continue with the bootcamp. And today, also, we have with us our expert speaker, Mr. Dilip Sir. You must have noticed he's a very nice explainer. You must have noticed in these 2 days the way he tries to explain the things, and I hope you all are learning. And today it's going to be a very interactive session as well. And from tomorrow, we are going to conduct a quiz. So if you have any kind of queries or anything, I'd suggest to please shoot today, and sir will be more than happy to help you. Over to you, sir.
Hey, thanks. Okay. Good evening, folks. I hope you're staying safe, you're good. And I would like to thank you guys because I know it's Sunday and it must be pretty boring for you guys to attend a class on Sunday. And I know that how it feels as a student. So, but yeah, please bear with me for one more day. And I hope this session will be fruitful and you guys will remember this for some time at least. And it will help you guys upskill your career. Okay. Great then. So let me just set some expectations for the day. So don't expect this session to be ended by 1 hour because we have to complete the at least the boot camp syllabus for today. So I'll try to be good. I'll try to take it in a very good pace, at least not speed up the things or not hurry up the things. And I'll try to make it up very much interactive and you guys won't get bored also. Okay, so let's get started with this then. So today, what are we going to see? So last 2 days we saw about the core concept of Azure services, that is the compute services, at least like the virtual machines, the web apps, the Kubernetes services, and so on, right? And the first day we saw about the Azure as a cloud provider. What does it give? Okay, so now people generally will ask, only these many services does the Azure give? No, we saw the my marketplace of portal, right? We got n number of services. Okay, so let's explore some more services today. Also, let's look into terms of security, some basics on Active Directory and network security and so on. Okay, so let's get started. um Great. So sharing my screen. Yep. So is my screen visible? Okay, I hope it's visible now. Okay, let's get started then. Yep. So today I have divided it into three presentations. Okay, because I know how it feels as one presentation, 50 or 60 slides. I know that's not going to really work out. So that's why I have just divided it into three separate slides or presentation. Between the slides, let's have some icebreaker and let's have some quizzes or some questions. Let's try to make it interactive. Okay, in this way. Okay. So today we are just going to see about the core solutions and management tools in Azure. Okay. So yesterday we saw all the core services, right? So when it come to services, it was like virtual machines, it was like web apps, AKS. So today we'll be seeing in core solutions. So solution, what is solutions generally? Solution is generally you address something, you address a problem. So that problem, the answer for that problem is known as a solution, correct? Some core problem, some core solutions are to some common problems faced by people which Azure gives. Okay, so this is the overall picture of what is core solutions. Okay, so let's get started. So these the core solutions are divided into five things. Okay, first thing is all about the Internet of Things. Okay, every service is related to IoT problem. Okay, let's just address it in terms of the problems. Second solution is with respect to the your big data analytics. Okay, so data analytics and data integration and all those things, second solution gives us the answer. The third solution is all about your machine learning, the AI, ML. Okay, it's a very trending topic these days. So third solution is the answer for the AI ML problem. Fourth is serverless computing. So probably we might have discussed, if you just said any one of you guys attended my first session, or I think it's in second session yesterday, where we discussed in brief about the serverless computing. No problem. If anyone has not attended, we'll revisit this too. Okay. And the fifth is about the DevOps. Okay. So these five problems, five solutions. Okay. So let's get started with the first one now. Okay, that is the IoT Central and Azure Sphere. So these three are the solutions which are the answer for the Azure Internet of Things. Okay, so what is Internet of Things basically? Anyone has any thoughts on what is Internet of Things? No. I'm not getting any responses. Okay, if I tell it this way, then people who answer will get some goodies. People definitely will start answering now, bombarding with the answer at least. Okay. So Mohit told me that Alexa, Google Mini devices implement IoT. Yes, these are the devices which implement the IoT. Perfect. What is IoT now? So what is the problem, or what is the statement of IoT? Internet of Things, right? Yes, it works on voice instructions. Perfect. So Internet of Things is basically you give an instruction to something. So consider you are giving, let's take a Alexa device. So Alexa is device, right? You command it over the voice saying that to do some task, and over the internet this task is being executed. So this is the whole concept of IoT. And yes, to make use this IoT, we need the sensors, chip, and all these things. Okay, so this is the concept of IoT. Over the internet you tell something, either by a text, either by a call, or either by a voice, or any means you tell something to do a work to sensors. So previously what used to happen, sensors used to come into picture when you send manually some instruction for this, like do this thing, do this things, or anything like that, right? Okay. So now this is basically over the internet, you command the devices to do certain operations. So that is basically Internet of Things. Okay. So to address this Internet of Things, so we have obviously Raspberry Pi or many simulators, right? Or the XYZ chips and sensors. To connect all these sensors, as you told, okay, don't go elsewhere. You come to me. I have the solutions for you. So these are IoT, IoT Central, IoT Hub, IoT Central, and Azure Sphere. Okay. Let's see in detail what is this. Okay. So IoT Hub, so let's just focus on IoT Hub now. So basically IoT Hub is kind of, so as I told you, what is IoT now? So by using Azure IoT services, so devices that are equipped with these kind of sensors, so there might be a Raspberry Pi, or there, let's consider there might be a Google, right? Google Mini or a Alexa. So this device is equipped with certain sensors. Okay. And that sensors connect to the internet. Okay. Could send their sensor readings. So this has to send their readings at something, right? This has to send their logs or anything. Okay. This has to send to Azure. So this message is there. No, this is facilitated by the Azure. Okay. The messages data is then collected. So it has to be aggregated somewhere, right? It has to be stored somewhere. So this is done by Azure itself, and it can be converted into reports and alerts. So obviously the logs, anything like, so consider you have a agriculture use case. So there you might need that water level rising. So these logs continuously need to be sent to Azure, right? Or any data store basically. Why? Because you might need to analyze this data in some time future. So it can be used for machine learning and anything for that matter, right? So consider in June the water level was daily rising by zero point 0.1 meter, something like that. So this data might be useful at some point of time to analyze it, or for whatever requirement it is. Okay. So this all is done by the IoT, Azure IoT. Okay. So use cases of Azure IoT, as I told you, let's just suppose company manufactures and operates smart refrigerated vending machines. Okay. What kind of information you want to monitor? So this is basically for a monitor thing. Okay. Yes, machine is operating without any error. Every time you can't go and check, okay, and you can't go and send a man, okay, check whether the machine has any errors. No, you can't do that. It's a cost, it's not cost effective, right? In that case, machine haven't been compromised, so it means that anyone hasn't been hacking the machine, or anyone has opened the machine or anything such things. Okay. Next thing, machines refrigeration system are kept in their are keeping their context with certain temperature range. You can't just lower the temperature at any point, you can't increase the temperature at any point. It has to be within a certain range, right? A certain bound. So This is when IoT comes into picture, and you are notified when the product reaches a certain inventory level, so that you can reach. Suppose it's a vending machine, right? Suppose I have my lace packets, so 10 lace packets are over. Now I need to tell anyone, right? Okay, the lace's stock is empty, so please refill it. Every time you can't send a person to check what's the stock today, what's the stock tomorrow, right? It should be automatic. So this all things are the use case of IoT. Okay, so first thing is Azure IoT Hub. Okay, so what is Azure IoT Hub is basically it's a managed service. Okay, so it's a managed service. When I mean managed services, you need not go and manage the stuff, so it's managed by Azure itself. Okay, that's hosted in the cloud. Okay, and it acts as central message hub. Okay, as I told you, IoT requires a messaging system, right? This IoT hub acts as a central messaging hub, okay, for bi-directional communication between your IoT application and your devices it manages. Okay, so now let's just open our drawing tool. Okay, so consider what is, I'll just draw it in this. So this is the IoT hub. Okay, here you have probably your devices. Okay, here you have devices, one, two, three devices. Okay, so here the application is hosted. What is connecting to this device? Okay, this has some sensors. So data needs to be sent continuously, right? Sensor data. So this device needs to be kept in some place. So this some place is known as a Azure IoT hub. Okay. Next, Azure IoT Hub supports the communication from both devices to cloud and cloud to device. It's a bi-directional communication. Okay. Next, you can virtually connect to any devices onto your IoT hub. Okay, so it means that you can actually, like, from your IoT hub you can connect it to virtually to, like, you don't need to go and with via virtual or wired connection. No, it's a virtual connection. Okay, next, from cloud to device perspective, that is from IoT hub to the device perspective, IoT allows the command and control. Command and control means, okay, I command and control the things. That the hub commands the and controls the thing. Okay, it tells that, okay, increase the temperature to this much, decrease the temperature to this much. Okay, this is the command and control. So this is overall what is IoT hub now. Okay, so next is IoT Central. So IoT Central is nothing but a dashboard kind of thing. So every time you go, you enter your logic of the application and do the stuff, and you host that somewhere in IoT Hub. Perfect, makes sense. Now in IoT Central, what happens? It kind of provides you a user interface where you can create your own application, host them there. Okay, else they have their get started application. So anything you have, it's get started, right? So basic simple applications, what uh, you want, they have their get started application. Using that, you can get started with the stuff. Okay, so basically it's a dashboard. Yep. So next, this visual interface makes it easy for quickly to connect to the new devices. So else you need to enter the connection thing, and there might be long list of getting connected to a device, right? With the central, it's very easy and quickly to connect the device, and also receive on see what are the data logs, what is this, what is that. You can see everything at one place. Okay, so that is basically use of Azure IoT Central. Okay, so it again, it provides the starter templates, creation of custom logo, and so on. Okay, so just let's see how it is here. So where is it? Yep, not able to see it. Just give me a second, I'm just trying us. Okay, I don't know why it's not opening. Okay, anyways, I'll open it in a new incognito, so that would be great. So this is the basically Azure IoT Central. Here you can see of different types of application where you want to get to started, and you want to get started, you can so Azure provides such a beautiful way that you need not get your sensors also. So it has the Raspberry Pi simulators, you can use those also. Okay, so that's how that beautiful it is. um yep. Yep. So next is Azure Sphere. So Azure Sphere is something like automated, like it's a boot, like a complete package. It gives you a chip, it gives you a security, it gives you OS. So everything in one. So you just need to like you need not buy chips also, you just need to order and you will get the chipset delivered at your place, and it's very highly secured. So it's so secure that the security, when you don't want your security to be compromised, then you go ahead with the Azure Sphere. Okay, so it's kind of end to end solution. Okay, so see here, if you like in technical terms, it means that Azure Sphere creates an end to end highly secure IoT solution for the customers. Okay, that encompasses everything from the hardware to the operating system together with a secure method of sending messages. Okay, so it comes in three parts, as I told you. When chip, it means that it's a microcontroller. Okay, next comes the OS, types of OS. So Windows generally you don't use when you're integrating with the IoT devices and stuff, right? So you go ahead with the Linux OS. And security of the devices. Okay, so based on your requirement, you need to choose what is the best IoT solution for you. Okay, so this is the main motto behind it. So consider you just want a basic IoT solution, you just want to integrate with your chips and so on. You have your sensors in home, you just need to connect it using some connection thing, then go for IoT hub. You just need a UI, you just need everything fully managed stuff at one place, you need to look into stuff. In that case, go for IoT central. Suppose you want to end to end solution, then you go need to go for Azure Sphere. Okay, so this is all about IoT. Okay, so next let's come to solution number 2. Okay, all about big data and analytics. Okay, so here it's divided into three parts. Okay, Azure Synapse Analysis, Azure HD Insights, and Azure Databricks. Okay, so it's divided into three parts. Now just let's look into one by one what is what. Okay, so as first one says, it's Azure Synapse Analysis, so it's majorly about analytics. Okay, analytics. So analytics service that can be used across the data warehouses and big data system. Okay, so one, this analytics system is there, no, it can be used everything across everything. So basically you have your data warehouse, the place where big data is stored, and big data system where the big data is processed. So everything you can use to analyze some data, that is known as Azure Synapse Analysis. Okay, next, can work using SQL, Spark together. So basically either sometime people say okay, either go for SQL, either go for Spark. Okay, else you can just go to mix and match approach also here. Okay, next, provide a query system Synapse SQL that can be used in data warehouse scenario. So to store, basically you can use the this provided by Azure Synapse Analysis, the query. Okay, next comes the Power BI. Okay, Power BI is basically all about the visualization. It's part of analysis, but it's more about the visualization, and it analyzes and visualizes the data. So in this case, people use Power BI. So you can link with Power BI too. Okay, so these are the feature of Azure Synapse Analysis. Okay, so advantages. So unified analytics platform. So you see, you don't have to go for multiple platforms, right? It's everything under one roof. Okay, next, enterprise data warehousing. So it's like for the enterprise applications, you can go ahead when you use this. Integrated AI and BI. So what I mean by integrated AI and BI is basically integrated artificial intelligence and integrated business intelligence. So basically with this Synapse analysis, right, either you can perform your artificial intelligence, either you can perform your business intelligence. Okay, so this is whole thing about the Synapse analysis now. Okay, so when I mean integrated, right, again, so it means that the output what you get from this analysis, right, with this you can either do any of the task what you want. Okay, next thing. So Azure HD Insight. So when I mean HD, right, it doesn't mean a high definition. Okay, not HDV or anything. It basically a short form of Hadoop here. So Hadoop is open source again. Okay, but again, if you want to integrate things with Azure, what do you do? Azure tells okay, again, I will provide you the services, don't go to some other sources and all. Okay, since you have the subscription, I will give you everything what Azure does. So basically, Azure has an extension kind of thing with the Hadoop. Okay, so Azure HD Insight is a managed, correct? So it's managed by Azure. You don't need to manage it. So you don't need to manage a cluster, you don't need to manage a service, anything. So Azure manages the things for you. Full spectrum and open source analytics services. Okay, so basically here analytics, you just need to pay for the storage. Analytics is free, so you need to perform the logic, and analysis will be free of cost. Okay, so it's a managed full spectrum open source analytics service in the cloud for the enterprises. Okay, when enterprises is basically big data is why it's more of enterprises uses. Basically big data is not used for any small stuff, right? It's used for enterprise organization, means something which has a larger number of data. So that's why the word enterprises comes into picture here quite often. Okay, so Azure HD Insight is a cloud distribution of Hadoop components. So I told you every Hadoop components combined under one roof forms the Azure HD Insight. Okay, Azure SD Insight makes it easy, fast, and cost effective. Okay, for to process massive amounts of data. As I told you, for massive amounts of data, you need to process it, right? So that can be done by Azure SD Insights, and it's like extract, transform, and load the operation. So ETL, what we call, right? You can perform everything under one roof. Okay, so ETL also you can be performed in one roof. Okay. Next, advantages. Cloud native, native to Azure, low cost and scalable. From the small this much data to this much data, everything you can do it in Azure HD Insight. Okay, you can monitor your data. Next, so basically it's a open source framework, right? This open source, when Apache is also open source framework, right? So basically can run open source frameworks such as Azure Spark. So basically you can use these kind of extensions inside the Azure HD Insight. So Apache Spark, Apache Hadoop, and Apache Kafka, and all those things. So you can integrate with this also. Okay, again, better integration with AI and BI. The same thing follows with all the analytics tool available in Azure. Okay, now next come to the last analytics tool, that is the Azure Databricks. Okay, so Azure Databricks provides latest version of Apache Spark. So basically last Azure HD Insight was everything about Hadoop, right? Azure Databricks is everything of Apache components under one roof, that is Azure Databricks. Okay, so allows you to seamlessly integrate with open source libraries, right? So it's optimized for two environments, so that is SQL Analytics and SQL Workspaces. So you can optimize it according to the needs. Okay, so next, so probably here, right, in terms of AZ900, this is not much important, but yes, if you are going for a DP900 or further data related certification, then you need to focus more on this. Okay, so Azure Analytics and stuff. So yeah, next, data can be in batches, or you can get it single or in whole batches. Okay, to process this data, either you can use the Kafka, Event Hub, or IIT Hub. So again, it's Event Hub is one of the widely used Azure services. Why? Because it seems lakhs and lakhs of data at single point. Okay, um, next, so once the data lands, right, it needs to be at some point, so data needs to be stored at some points. Okay, so that stored point is known as blob storage or Azure Data Lake storage. So it, you can store the data in certain places. Next, using Azure Apache Spark, this data is turned into, like, you can use using the Spark, right? So Apache Spark is basically analyzing the data, correct? So using Apache Spark, you can analyze the data or whatever you want. So again, AI and BI. Okay, so this is all about the analytics stuff. Advantage, as I told you, the data you got, you can use it for whatever needs you want, like building artificial intelligence solutions, else big data analytics like the Python, or data science like Python, Scala, R, and Java, anything of these kind of tools you can make use of. Like, this data can be integrated with this certain language for the data science and stuff. Okay, so yep. So data wise, we are done. So the next solution is basically the AI/ML. So most buzzing words these days, right? AI and ML. Correct. Um, so if you observe, right, AZ900 is like, here they're giving you overview of all the three services. First, we got the solutions like um, the data analytics services and so on. Now AI/ML. So if you go to the certification roadmap, right, there are separate certifications like AI 900 and 900 and DP 900 too, where more in detailed things of these services are covered. So here it's just a one liner definition. Okay, what are this? What does this do? Okay, so if you just dig deep into those certifications, it's more about what does this do and its child branches basically. Okay, so next comes AI and ML. So AI ML solution, the problem gives the three solution for us, that is Azure machine learning, Azure cognitive services, and Azure bot services. Okay, so first let's come to Azure machine learning. Now machine learning we all know, right? You feed the machine with some data and it has to, and you tell what algorithm it has used, and it processes the data and gives you certain output. Okay, correct, that's the basic point of machine learning. So Azure tells we have certain set of algorithm, you get your algorithm whatever you want, you give your data, you give the sample, you give the actual data, club it or whatever you do, we analyze and give you the output or kind of the predictions, what in terms of AI ML language. Okay, so basically Azure Machine Learning is a platform for making predictions only, correct? It consists of tools and services that allows you to connect to the data to train and test models, correct? So machine learning is all about training and testing models. So you can do it inside Azure only. Okay. So and its responsibility is that most it predicts according to what data you have trained and what algorithm you have selected. It predicts the most accurate future result. Okay, example sorry, advantages of this. Okay, so create and process that defines how to obtain data. So basically you are telling, okay, I'll create a certain process of how to obtain data from certain sources. I'll give you the data, or I'll tell you, okay, use this API to get this data. Okay, I'll tell you how to split the data. Okay, so you just need to give some commands and it will do it on itself. Okay, so when you use machine learning, right, you will have to take the data, split the data into training set and the test set and actual production set, right? So it knows what based on the sample you give, it splits the data accordingly and processes it. Okay, train and evaluate model, yes. Next, pipeline. So pipeline is basically inside the pipeline it knows, right, Azure knows, okay, when to run this certain experiments, when to use certain algorithms, when to score from this certain algorithm, everything the machine already knows. Okay, deploy the best performing algorithm. Okay, so you can deploy the best performing algorithm into the AI service. Okay, next is cognitive services. So cognitive services basically your what do you do, if anyone have your mobiles right now, what you do, you just do a barcode scanning, right? So barcode scanning is nothing but a cognitive service. Okay, so it basically it is a subclass of machine learning, but here what you do is it basically machine is able to perform certain operation based on your language, based on your speech, based on your vision, based on your decision. So it's all like whatever Alexa, whatever Siri does, right? Everything is basically, this is all basically cognitive services. So again, Azure has its own set of cognitive services models where you just need to give some input, where you need to train the model and it will perform accordingly. Okay, your language means your natural language processing, where you need to scan certain things and it will automatically give you the required response on certain things. Okay, speech based on my input, right? If I am speaking in a harsher tone, it should analyze that, okay, I am angry, I am happy, and based mood. Vision, I just need to scan and tell what is this, which brand of this computer it is, what is my t-shirt, and all those. Decision making. Okay, so based on certain things it has to perform its own decision making. So these are the services provided by the Azure Cognitive Services. Next comes the bot services. Again, it's one more subclass by the bot. Okay, so basically one more subclass by the machine learning, but bot is basically Azure creates kind of an interactive tool for you. It kind of creates an interactive agents where you can interact with the system. So that system has to interact with the humans. Okay, so machine learning is bit different from sorry, Azure bot service is bit different from machine learning and cognitive services, that it has a specific use case. So specific use case, Q and A maker. Basically you ask it question and it should give you answer, but it should be via text only, right? You can't just tell, okay, if I tell, okay, Alexa, just tell me what's the weather today, it's a cognitive service. But if I type here what's the weather today, that's a chatbot. Okay, so it creates an agent to interact. So these are the services of the Azure bot service. Okay. So next, let's come to serverless computing. As I told you in my previous session, right? So any computing, what you have is based on a server, correct? So you have an underlying infrastructure, you have an underlying server. So when I mean underlying server, it means that I have a network, I have my database, everything at one place, right? So as we told our in our pizza problem, so like you have your network, you have your storage, you have your data disk and all those things, you have kind of a underlying server or underlying infrastructure. Now what used to happen in case of VM, everything used to go, so base three things they used to give you: OS, everything you used to get it. In then came web app, they told okay, OS also we will manage, you just come get your data and your application you host in our web app came. Now what used to happen, for there were some short lived jobs, okay, like just kind of API hit, like if consider one API that triggers every 5 minutes, kind of alarm, or every 5 days once it triggers, okay, and it just tells me what's the weather today. For every 1 week it tells me the weekly weather. Now this case what used to happen is, I really don't need infrastructure, right? So cost wise it's waste. If I just go and create a virtual machine also it's expensive. If I go and create a web app also it's expensive, correct? It's a waste of time and money. A dedicated infrastructure will be there, and costing wise also every time it will be on, every time it will be computing and so on. It's a waste of money. So what they did is, okay, problem is there, so what's the solution for this? Okay, so there is a pool of infrastructure. So basically, as I told you, there is a pool of services or pool of servers over here, okay. So here OS, network, everything is there, okay. So they tell, okay, this is the our pool of services, you just come to us and take a small portion in this, host your code over here, okay. So this is a shared service now. So with this what happens is, at rest of the time this will be not using, but when it's the fifth day, right, okay, it will know, okay, I have to activate on this fifth day, and it will go trigger, make use of these services, give the output from here, okay, give the output from here, sleep. That's it. Only for weekly once the charge, it's charged like, when where I'm charged 5 rupees, this is me charge, this is charging me probably 10 paise, okay, because only weekly once the service servers are being used, compute cost is being used, okay. So this is the concept of serverless computing. um yep. So here, right, you just need not be worried about setting the whole environment and where the server code is executed, no, everything. So it's basically, as I told you an example, rest point triggered by HTTP requests, okay. Consider your the one more example is, this API should be triggered, or the action should be triggered only when there is a message in my queue. I have one queue. When there is a message in queue, only when that time action is. So this is also one of the examples where most of the trigger points are used, right? You ideally don't need a API for all time running things. You just need a small piece of thing. When this action, when this event occurs, do the job and sleep. That's it. These are known as the short lived jobs, okay. So this is the concept of serverless computing. There are two types of things here. One is Azure functions, okay. So function is basically, in a function, right, you can host one single method. So okay, this method has to be in certain programming language. When programming language comes into picture, it's all about coding, correct. So this code, say piece of code, execute when certain event occurs, correct. So advantages of this is scales automatically, scales up and down automatically, scales automatically, and charges only when function is triggered. So as I told you, it charges only when function is triggered here, correct. It's a stateless environment. So what I mean by stateless environment is, it's ideal just for processing incoming data. So stateless is basically doesn't remember anything. So that's the concept of stateless, okay. So consider, I just tell you to do, go and probably deliver this packet of milk to XYZ person, okay. So now you just go to that person, deliver the milk, that's it. Your job is done. You will not go and sit there for talking, okay, he is Dilip, he has told me to deliver milk, this is this milk. No, you will not do that. So stateless is, after coming back you'll not remember, okay, I had to go there, deliver the milk and come. No, that's it. So it's job done. So that's the concept of stateless, okay. So as I told you, we already discussed the example where the event occurs, do the work, sleep. So that's a basically simple example of Azure function. So next comes the Azure logic apps. So Azure function, you had to know knowledge of coding, okay. So Azure Logic App is such a way that it's not no need of knowledge of code is there. It's all about the designer tool. You just need to drag and drop the boxes. So it's literally so easy that you just have the picture, and you just copy the boxes, drag and drop. Okay, I want this. I want to send message in Twitter. I want to send message in Teams. Done. So that's the concept of Logic App, where the design first approach comes into picture. So generally in exam you might be asked the question of difference between the function and the logic app. Okay, function is a code first approach and logic app is a design first approach. So that's the difference, major difference between a function and logic app. Okay, so can be designed in web based Azure portal? Yes, you can do that. Okay, as I told you, and one more difference between function and logic app is Azure function is a computing service, while a logic app is an orchestration service. So what is orchestration service? Orchestration service is after this task do something, do something, do something. So when you go to logic app, right, it's such a way that okay, first task is probably get some response from xyz weather data. Okay, so that is my first task. After this, send a message in Twitter. After this, say hello. So this is a orchestrated task. So this is done by the logic app because it has some sort of state values over here. Okay, now let's come to the major last part of this particular solution, that is DevOps and GitHub. Again, buzzing topic, right? So see, as I told you, as I mentioned, I set the expectation starting only here. For every problem there is a solution, and there is a solution with Azure too. Okay, so DevOps and GitHub also is one of the problem, right? So how will you manage the DevOps and everything? So Azure told, okay, come to us, we'll give you that also. We already knew, right? GitHub. First let's come to Azure Dev Test Labs. Okay, so here what it means that every time you can't go and create an environment, right? So consider you are working on a VM. Okay, so you just want to give it to a tester saying that how it works. Okay, so you have a QA environment, fine, but ideally when you are developing, you really can't trust for the billing, right? You can't just go for the billing. So what you do is you take help of Azure Dev Test Labs and you give the similar parameters saying that okay, I want my VM to be this, like this configuration, and it create kind of a dummy for you. So this dev test lab output is similar to what is there in the actual output. Okay, so this is the concept of Azure Dev Test Labs. Okay, so anything you can deploy via. So basically, it's not only specific to VM. It can be anything. It can be a web app. It can be a function. It can be anything. So you can deploy it to Dev Test Lab via ARM template. Okay, so ARM template yesterday we saw what is it, Azure Resource Manager templates. So you can use that also. Okay, so developers can test and performance, I mean developers and testers can perform tests across variety of environments. So they can probably create, right, this is my production environment, this will be my test environment. So how will my test environment look? What should be there in test environment? What should not be there in test environment? Everything they can analyze and create one dummy machine first before deploying. Correct. So this thing is one of the best advantages of Azure Dev Test Labs. Again, saves a lot of time for developers and testers because they are ideally not going and creating any environment and wasting a resource, right? They're just creating a dummy environment, like environment. It's not environment, but it's kind of environment where you can perform the operations. You'll be charged, definitely you'll be charged for the resources used, but it's very less compared to what is actual resource consuming. Okay. So give me a second. Now, what is DevOps? So DevOps is basically, as I probably last Tuesday I had one of my session with the Azure community here. So DevOps is, right, before DevOps, it's not. So DevOps is not about tools as I term. It's the practices. It's a mindset. What you create while creating a. It's like a process. So to follow this process, you need to have some mindset, right? These mindsets are known as DevOps. So here, right, in DevOps, what and all comes? Planning. You need, as I told you, we need to plan. We need to. It's a infinity basically. In that infinity, everything comes like plan, test, code, release, deploy, monitor, again plan. All this into an infinity cycle comes. To support this process, right, you need certain tools. So those are known as DevOps tool, right? So DevOps board, Scrum, Kanban, user stories are all these things which support the ideology of DevOps. Okay, so you can either take help of GitHub, or in Azure DevOps only there is there is a placeholder for you to store your code. So where the repository comes in picture, no need of going to GitHub also. All in your repository only you can do that. Okay, Test plan. So test plan is basically you can create kind of manual test cases saying that okay, this has to be done, this has to be checked, this has to be checked, and so on. So this is known as the test plan over here. So Azure DevOps service, right? It's a centralized code repository. You have Azure boards to create a user story, to check, to create a task and everything. You have a facility of Azure pipeline where CI/CD automation tool you can create and so on. Azure artifacts, the output from the pipeline. So what is this artifacts is you build a code, correct? Probably be it a C++, C sharp, Java. When you build a code, the code is compiled. You tell what is being compiled. Compilation means converting from a high level language to a low level language. So low level language is a code which only machine understands, correct? So these codes are in form of exes, dlls or jar with respect to their programming language. So these uh, what the output, right? These exes, dlls and jars are there. Now these are known as the Azure artifacts, which is then passed on to the release pipeline. Next, as I told you, Azure test plans, you can also integrate it with your automated test tool. So if you just want me to show the Azure DevOps tool, so I'll just go to here. And so this is overall board of Azure DevOps. If this is my organization, Faith and Leaf, this is the project inside the organization. One organization can have multiple projects. So this is the boards where I can create a feature or a workable item and so on. This is the repo where my code is stored. So this is the pipeline where building of the application and releasing of the application in an automated manner happens. Okay. Um, Next, GitHub and GitHub Action is basically it same thing what we saw in pipelines, right? Build and release thing happens, but this is with respect to the open source. So only thing difference is Azure DevOps is a private repository for you, and GitHub is a open source repository for you. So if you want to make GitHub private, you need to pay for it. You want to make Azure DevOps public, you need to pay for it. So it's that way. Okay. So rest everything operations is the same. The CI/CD pipeline, wiki collaborations, and everything is the same. So GitHub Action is basically the CI/CD pipeline, what we call it. When you push the code, automatically building and deploying the code. So that is known as GitHub Actions. Um, yep. So the last, I think the last chapter part of this particular module is Azure management tools. So what are Azure management tools? Is basically to create the resources, right? You need certain tools, right? So those are known as Azure management tools. How so yesterday I mentioned about Azure resource manager, correct? If anyone of you remember, so Azure resource manager is a management layer which helps in creating of Azure resources. So that's the concept of Azure resource manager. Now, to interact with this Azure Resource Manager, so if you just see yesterday's video, right, I just showed one of the REST client, one of the ARM template, correct? I just showed what it works and so on. So to interact with Azure Resource Manager, there are multiple ways to do it. So either it's via portal. So portal is very easy. Just go. It's a very user-friendly interface. Next is you can go via Azure mobile app. Just go to Play Store or Apple Store, search Azure. You will get Azure app. You can download it and play around it. Next is Azure REST API. So yesterday we saw certain APIs they give. You just go to Postman, enter the credentials, execute it, and you can do the same thing what's done by other two. PowerShell is again, PowerShell is one of the tool, command line interface tool only, but from the specific to the Windows machine. Okay. CLI is basically again command line interface. You can do it. It's more towards the Bash approach. Azure Cloud Shell is basically inside the Azure portal only. You have a way to interact with cloud, we interact with Azure services. So that is known as Azure Cloud Shell. Okay, so these are the different ways of contacting or creating resource management tools, what we can call. Okay, using ARM. Okay, so monitoring. So once you need to monitor the stuff, right? So what is monitoring basically? So monitoring is nothing but you are just checking your services is up and running or not. If any errors, it should send you the logs. So this is the idea of monitoring, right? To support monitoring, Azure provides the certain things. So first one is Azure Advisor. So Azure Advisor is basically, Azure Advisor evaluates your Azure resources. So you don't have to do anything. Okay, so you have an account, you have certain resources. Azure Advisor comes, looks what are the resources, what can be changed, what has to be done. Automatically, using its algorithm of AI, it does these things and gives you certain suggestions. Okay, these suggestions, what does it help? Help to improve reliability, security, and performance. With all these three, you can reduce the costs, right? So these three factors affecting in reducing the cost. Next thing, Azure Advisor is designed to help you save the time on cloud optimization. You need not go there and optimize the resources and so on. With the help of Azure Advisor, automatically it gives suggestions so that you can automatically optimize the resources being used in cloud. Okay, so before we just go to monitor, we'll just see where is this Azure Advisor, because some services we are able to see. um, okay, so just go to Azure and side blade, you can see the Azure Advisor. Okay, here. So if you see here, it just gave me one of the recommendation. What is this recommendation? Let's see. That's all. It's fine. Cost wise, it's fine. I'm fine. I'm doing good. Security wise, I'm good. Performance wise, I'm good. And operational experience also, I'm good. So only thing, one recommendation I got is reliability. How well can you make your virtual machine reliable? So if you see yesterday's class, right? Yesterday's session, I didn't create any redundancy or infrastructure redundancy. Here it's telling that, okay, enable virtual machine replication to protect your application from the regional outage. So it means that, okay, make copies of your virtual machine in different regions, because in one region outage is there, okay, we can have a backup for you. So that's why it's telling me, Advisor is giving me a reliability suggestion. Okay, so this is how the Azure Advisor works. Next comes the Azure Monitor. So Azure Monitor is one of the integrate whole set of platform. What it does, it performs, collects, analyzes, and act. So here it just gives you suggestion, right? Here in Azure Monitor, it automatically performs all these things, analyzes, and it also acts on certain things. So you need not go and do certain things. You just need to set metrics. Okay, when the CPU threshold is this much, do certain things, increase the load or anything. So this is all done by the Azure Monitor. Okay, so if you see this diagram, from all the things, right? Application, operating system, Azure resources, subscription, the metrics and logs are taken, and based on this, these things are done. So it visualizes, analyzes, responds, and integrate. Okay, integrate is basically tell a customer or do some operations. So every operation is done by the Azure Monitor over here. So next is Azure Service Health. So consider, now you can't go to, suppose consider at Indian region, you don't know. So might be some services might be up, might be some services down, right? So you need to, without logging in, if you need to check anything, right, then what you need to do is, this Azure status gives throughout the world whatever services are there, right? Those things status, this Azure status gives. So if I just go to this thing right here, so here, see, refresh every 2 minutes. So I am in Asia Pacific region. So South India, see, the virtual machines are all up and running. Um, lab services is up and running. Network services, everything is running, right? So this is overall status of all the services present in Azure in all the locations. Okay, so this is Azure status service. Okay, so this is valid only for the service issues. Okay, plant maintenance and health advisor. So you can't see. So consider, as I told you, mentioned regional outages or any plant maintenance going on. In that time, that status will be. It will not be green. It might be orange or it might be red. Okay, so this marks the end of our 1 hour session. So not yet, to be continued. So part one is ended for now. So let's just take a 2 or 3 minutes step. In the meanwhile, I'll just give one quiz for yesterday's session. So just, it probably might be a icebreaker and might be you might get some rest for some time. So I just pass on this quiz of yesterday's session. So Varun, can you please paste it in the comment section? We'll give you 5 minutes time, okay? So it's 9:51, sorry, 7:51 now. I'll wait probably till 7:56. Okay, so please chat with us. So let's wait for 7:50 till 7:56. At 7:56 I'm going to end this quiz. 2 more minutes, guys. Shekhar is done. We'll wait for 1 more minute and then I'll stop the responses over there. Yep, closing it in 30 seconds. Okay, guys, closing it now. Yep, I've closed it. So just let's see who is. Let's give a shout out to a person who has done well here. Okay, so there were 5 questions, and I can see here Jenny Shifali has scored 5. Great, good going, Jenny. And Anish Kumar also has got 5. Rishabh Sharma, okay, not bad. Many people have done well. So Tulika, Ayush, Rohit Kumar, good, great guys. And Pulkit also. Yep. So sorry, Akash, I just stopped the quiz. We'll be rolling out many more quizzes too. So yes, okay. Uh, yes, so probably we'll roll out some Azure passes and stuff for those who has done well today. And tomorrow also we'll be rolling out many more quizzes. Okay, and let's get started with our session now. Is my screen visible? Okay, great. So general security and network security features. Okay, so this is more about the features, and again, so as I told right here, it's not much about the explaining in detail of what the service does. It's just a overall outline of what the service it is. Okay, so this is the concept of Azure 900 again. So here they don't expect you to know what each and every services does. It's like you just need to know what a service is there. So this kind of service is there for this kind of problem. So this is the expectation out of AZ 900. Okay, so general security and network security features. Okay, so Azure Security Center. Azure Security Center is basically a kind of a overall place. Okay, so what it does, it is a monitoring of services that provides visibility of your security posture across all your services. So basically you have many services, right? um yes, Ananya, so the form is closed. We'll roll out tomorrow on the new one. Yeah, so let's get back. So Azure Security Center is a monitoring service that provides visibility of your all services, your security posture. So it gives you a score and all. Okay, your score is this, your overall service is doing fine, your security score is 21 or so on. Okay, so the term security posture, right here somewhere it mentioned that security posture. So the term security posture refers to the cyber security policies. So in cyber security, might be certain rules and all rules, right? So those things, it's basically a security postures. Here, what it does, it just tell you how well can you predict, prevent, and respond incoming or any future security threats. Okay. So what are the capabilities of this? So capabilities being, it provides the security recommendations. Okay, and it detects and blocks the malware. So in advance things that okay, this kind of threat is there, it might be a malware, it might be a malicious threat. Okay, then it detects and blocks it. Okay, so analyze and identify potential attacks. Okay, so analyze and identify the potential attacks is again the same thing. So predefinedly think it, okay, it might be attack, it might so cause so and so problem. Okay, it does the things. Okay, next is just in time control for um control for ports. Okay, so it means that okay, it filters the port. So it's saying that okay, I am in port number 80, consider my system is in port number 80. It thinks that okay, from port number 80 I can't access certain things, so I'll just write certain rules saying that okay, from port number 80 I can't do certain things. So this is the capabilities of Azure Security Center. So next comes the Azure Sentinel. So Azure Sentinel is again, so it's one of the security services, but here what it does, it's basically is a security information management. So it collects all the information and it gives some automated response. So both does the same thing, but this is more towards the automated automation side. Okay, so it's a cloud native service. So here if you see this cycle, right, it collects the security data across your enterprise applications. Okay, and next what it does, it detects, it might be threat, it might not be threat. So it, if you It's overall the same thing what the security center is doing. Okay, so next, investigates one more service, rather you can say. So there are multiple services, what you want you can choose, right? So Azure Sentinel is one of them. Okay, so it detects what might be the threat, what might not be the threat. Okay, investigate. So investigate is basically, it might think, okay, this might be some critical incident, this might not be some critical incidents. Okay, respond to those things by automatic protection. I'll block them, I'll do certain things. Okay, anytime further I'll not go and manually do things. Okay, this is this. Okay, I got some error saying that, okay, malicious threat detected, I need to block this port. No, automatically from this port, if a malicious threat is incoming, then I'll block that port. So this is this overall picture of Azure Sentinel. Okay, capabilities, as I told you, overall collect, detect, investigate, and response. Okay, so it integrates with various things. Okay, so you can use this Sentinel with Office 365. Anything malicious happening on to Office 365 or Azure AD, some random user hacked in into things, or Azure Advanced Threat Protection, you can use it in various other services of Azure basically. Okay. Okay, so next thing is Azure Key Vault. So this is not much of a network security stuff. Okay, so consider you have your application now. Okay, so I have my application. It what it does, it collects some information from database. So it's a basically a CRUD operation: create, retrieve, update, and delete operations are performed in a database. Okay, it's in an application. Okay, so now to connect the application to database, what is required? So anyone, if anyone has idea on that? Anyone? Yeah, Aditi, I have closed the form. So tomorrow's quiz you can give a try. S- So the question currently is, okay, so PHP is an application. But my question is, you have your application, you have your database. How do you connect these both? SQL. Okay. So SQL is a database. So SQL database, you need to connect it to application now. Okay, so just let me come to the point. Okay, so there might be any keys. Okay, what database gives, right? There might be keys through which you need to connect. Else, in terms of Azure, right, whenever you create a database, you have a connection string. So this connection string helps you to connect to the database. Okay, so this is known as a way or mode of connection to a database or any other services. Probably yesterday we saw the storage account blobs and all. So everything generates a connection string. So this connection string, right, when I am in application, I can't expose this, I can't put this in repo, right, directly, because it's like a, what do you call, it's a security threat, correct? Because people will be, yes, key value pair, kind of key value pair. So key will be the connection and this will be the connection password. So consider in that way. So ideally when I host this application, right, I need to put in a centralized repository, correct? So I can't expose this particular key value pair. Okay, so why? Because it's a security threat. I don't want anyone to see the password of my database. I don't want anyone to see the connection string of my database. Yes, they will come, they will connect to the database, they will hack the things. Simple for them. Okay. So to avoid that, what we do is there is a centralized locker system. In consider this as a locker system. Okay. So in this locker system, Azure, this locker system is known as Azure Vault. To access this vault, you need a key. Overall, this is known as a key vault. Okay, so Key Vault is a centralized cloud service for storing an application secrets in a single central location. So basically, it's in kind of a, so it provides secure access to the sensitive information by providing access control and logging capability. So anyone can't go and access the Key Vault. So you need a certain access and certain privileges to access a Key Vault. So this is one more facility. One more the advantage of Key Vault, what you can tell. Okay, so just an example. Okay, so here it's like a inner storage. Imagine this is at the data center. Okay, so this is a data center, as I told yesterday, racks. In this data center there is one small vault. Okay, So this small vault, you are storing your keys and your passwords, everything. To access this vault, you need two things: RBAC, role based access control, one thing, and other one thing is a key or a secret key. What you need to, so you, it's just like opening a locker, right? You go to a bank, first what you do, you go and sign, correct? Manager verify. So if you, or you might have visited your with your parents to a bank, right? Bank locker or anything, directly they don't allow you. First they go, they check your ID card, after that they take your sign, after that you will have one key, manager will have one key, they both will go inside that locker and open the locker, correct? So this is if Harry Potter movie, right? First part, if you have seen, so he just verifies, okay, he is Mr. Potter, and Hagrid gives a key, and Potter gives a, sorry, the bank guy gives a key, and they go and open the locker. So this is the overall concept of key vault. Same thing. They need a, you need a key to go and open a vault. Okay. Um. So what you can do with key vault, you can store the secrets. So the, as I told you, can encrypt the keys and store those encrypted keys into key vault. And sometimes to run an application, right, you need a certificates. Okay, so these certificates also you can store in the key vault. So now, as I told you here, right, in this example, this vault is into the shared kind of storage, even though it's dedicated for you, but you are using for a in a shared infrastructure, correct? So there might be n number of key vaults here, so anyone might come and so sometime if your data is too much secured, there might be problems with it. To overcome that, what you know, they give you a dedicated host. So this here is dedicated only for you. This whole infrastructure is dedicated only for you, and here only your vault is there. This is costly, but again, this is only dedicated for you, and this is known as Azure Dedicated Host. So Azure Dedicated Host provides a physical servers that host one or more Azure virtual machine that is dedicated to a single organization workload. As I told you, when too much of data is there and your data is more specific, like as yesterday I told you, right, special Azure regions, so for those they might give a special physical servers and so on. Capabilities here, hardware isolation is at server level, because you know what the hardware is dedicated for you, it's more isolated. Control over maintenance, okay, and even timing, so you control it. But it's almost like you are control, it's almost like aligned of Azure hybrid services. So yesterday we saw, right, hybrid, more like a physical server, but you use the capabilities of Azure. Next comes is secure network connectivity. So what is secure network connectivity? So secure network connectivity, now everything we saw about the security and all those things. Now when it comes to secure network connecting, over a network you can't send a random stuff, right? Yesterday we saw the VNet and all, it's just the continuation of this. Okay, so when you design a security, right, you, this is one of the approach of how they design, how the Azure is designing. Okay, so this is known as defense in depth. So your data is, so basically you have multiple layers when your data is there. Okay, so your data is not secured, so there is might be, I'm weak in networking, but there might be something called security layer, right? So that is responsible for your encryption and decryption of data. So your data is only protected at that point. Okay, nowadays we call encryption at rest, encryption at transit. So when the encryption is rest, encryption is at rest is there, your data is secured only over here, this point. Now here what they did is they created seven layers, seven, right? Yeah, seven layers of physical layers kind of things, or virtual layers. So each layer protects data in one or its own way, such that it's way more secure. Okay, how? Physical security, right? Physical security is basically your hardware attacks, so it prevents it from hardware attacks. So consider anyone it like a using of big lock to a server room. Okay, or consider a password protection of all these things. It's a physical attack, so anyone can't take a hammer and break the lock open and get into room. No, one layer he crossed, one door he crossed. Next, he is having a identity access. So identity access is basically control access so it doesn't, if you break lock also and come in, now there is a fingerprint scanner. So that fingerprint scanner anyone can't open it, only certain members can open. So it verifies your identity, who you are, and based on your identity it allows you next level. Okay, next, perimeter. So perimeter is kind of a outer hardware, or what do you call outer layer. Okay, so here what it does, it uses DDoS protection. So DDoS is basically denial of service, right? So denial of service, what hacker does is, hacker kind of disables your website, so that when you want you can't use the website. So perimeter protects it from the DDoS attacks and so on. Okay, limitations. Sorry, network. So network, what it does, it limits the communication. So every request is not, probably it sets certain rules that okay, at 1 minute you can just ping it, you can just get the data at 5 times. So certain rules are being set, not, or you can filter the IP, saying that okay, from this IP you can't let my traffic come in, or from this IP, from this you can't take the traffic out for this particular IP. Certain rules you can set. Next is the compute. So compute is basically your data is residing in a VM, consider VM storages, right? So compute secures the VM basically. Okay. Next is the application. So application is basically ensures the application is free of vulnerability. So application is basically like any viruses and all those things, the application should be free of. So that is taken care. Now the data. So data is basically the core data. So here business and customer data is there. Here it has its own responsibility. So this controls the business and customer data. So this is the overall architecture of defense in depth. Okay, so this is made of 7 layers. Now NSG, so network security group, is basically it kind of rules. Okay, it kind of it acts as a firewall. So what a firewall does, so you have a wall here. Okay, you have a wall. When a network goes out, it will stop it. When it will check the credentials, leave, go out. When comes in also, it does the same thing, right? So this is whole thing, it's actual firewall. So Azure network security, it acts as a kind of a internal firewall, not the external firewall. There is one more firewall called Azure firewall, but this is kind of first layer of protection. Okay, so Azure security net excuse me, Azure Network Security Group enables you to filter your network traffic to and from Azure resources with the virtual network. Okay, it acts as an internal firewall, as I told you. So here you can create multiple rules. So these rules are either inbound or outbound. Inbound means incoming to the VM. Outbound means going from a VM to the outer world. Okay. So these rules, okay, here what you can do is some set of rules is set the inbound and outbound rules by filter by source. Okay, and destination IP address, as I told you, port number 80, HTTP only allow HTTPS protocols, not HTTP protocols. These rules you can set. You can add multiple rules, as many as you needed within the subscription. So probably your subscription might allow 10 rules. You can use those 10 rules also for the NSGs. Okay. So next, Azure applies default baseline security rules. So new NSGs. So yesterday, if you see, right, we created a VM, right? And when we tried to access the this what you call, when we tried to access the IP, we got something called for not reachable, because already the rule was set saying that all the incoming or the outgoing traffic should be rejected, because already this rule was set. So this is why the default rule is set already. You can override the rules with the new high priority rule. So you can create a new rule, you can override it. Okay, so you can just what you can do is, so you can just go to your VM here, and you have your network security group right over here. Inbound, see here, inbound security group. So here, see, allow any 320, these many rules are there. So you can reject or deny it, okay, based on the rules over here. So I'll just go to inbound rule. So probably I'll act in any destination, any custom port ranges IP 330, port number 8080. I'll just give port number 80 for now. So this is how I can, okay, incoming traffic you can give it any. Okay, so this is overall how you can create a NSG now, network security group. Next is Azure Firewall. So Azure Firewall, it acts the same way but in the external level. Okay, Azure Firewall is a stateful. It remembers what came in, what is going out. It's not a stateless, as I explained you earlier, right? What is stateful and what is stateless. So same way, it is a stateful service. It's a managed firewall as a service. Okay, so that grants, denies, accesses anything based on the originating IP addresses. Okay, So here also it's the same thing, applies inbound and outbound traffic filtering rules, high availability and unrestricted cloud scalability. You can scale it to any level. Okay, users monitor logging, already Azure monitor is there. You can leverage the use of monitor logging through which IP tried to access this, which are the malicious attacks and so on, using Azure firewall. Okay, next one is Azure distributed denial of service protection. So by default, right, Azure have has this. Okay, so it again based on your services how it is. Okay, so what is distributed denial of service? So consider you have a service. So hacker, what he does is he penetrates the site and makes sure that whenever you require, the service is down. Okay, and he corrupts the site. So when you require, the site will not be reachable. Okay, so now distributed denial of service, what it does, it is DDoS attacks. As I told you, it how he'll ping it hundred thousands of times, he'll ping it so that the source will be exhausted. Okay, so sanitize unwanted network before it impacts the serviceable. So what this Azure DDoS does, it sanitizes means it cleans everything before the traffic goes unavailable. Okay, basic service tier is on and automatically enabled. Here standard service tier also add this service with the some extra services. Okay, stand in terms of Azure standard service or basic service. So if you see here, right, so attacker is trying with this malicious. So here is a Azure backbone is there. So here customer, so this is kind of a front end service. So both are being sent. If you see a red one is being sent, also yellow one is being sent, but this DDoS protection only filters yellow one and sends it to the network. Okay, so this is the concept of Azure distributed denial of service protection. Okay, next comes the identity governance, privacy and compliance features. Okay, so it's more about the authorization, authentication and so on, privacy compliances. Okay, so what is Azure identity service? So Azure identity service is basically before is basically Active Directory. So how, when, if anyone have you done your college projects, right, how do you authenticate? Anyone? How do you authenticate? So how do you create authentication page? Any answers? Credentials, perfect. So where are these credentials stored? You enter the username and password, perfect. Yep. So credentials, right? So generally you enter the username and passwords, and this has to store in. Consider you are doing a local project. What you do, you create a SQL application. Okay, so SQL database, you store all the username and password and you match it. Okay, so ideally when there is a large scale application, you don't have a time to go and create a database. So Azure provides the same service. So this service is known as Azure Active Directory. Okay, so now before getting into Active Directory, there is two concepts. One is authentication and other one is authorization. Okay, so authentication tells that, okay, I come with my user name and password, I am authenticated to use this service, I am a valid person to use this service. Okay, now this is basically known as authentication. So why this is used is creating for secure creating a secure identity. Okay, and access control principle. So you tell, you come, you give your username and password, your then you go into the page, that is known as authentication. Now if you have observed sometimes, right, in any of the services, you are logging, but sometimes you get, okay, you are not authorized to use the services. So consider, let's go to take a physical example. Okay, so consider you are you might have gone to any monuments or kind of any hotel you consider. Okay, you pay the entrance, you go inside, you are paying the bill. So ideally you're authenticating yourself, but inside the room, right, there will be one server room, or there might be any, not server room, kitchen, they will tell no admissions, you are not authorized to use this. It tells that, okay, I am entry, but I'm not the right person who can access this resource. So that is basically authorizations. Okay, so it determines the access level of an authenticated person. So that is known as authorization. Okay, defines which data they can access and what can they do with it. same thing, like consider your army and all, they have very strict, right? And even a soldier can't go inside a weapon room or anything, right? So it's his level of access is only up to certain boundary. Apart from that, he needs some permissions. So this permission is known as authorization. Okay, so types of authentication are single factor authentication, two factor authentication, and multi-factor authentication. So single factor authentication, we know username and password, done. Two factor is username, password, and after that probably they will send you OTP, correct? That is two factor authentication. Multi-factor authentication is basically you enter all this and next they will probably ask you, right? Are you sure you want to you are the user and you want to access this site? It will make sure that okay, you are the one who are accessing this site. Okay, so this is basically a multi-factor authentication. Now Azure multi-factor authentication is basically one step ahead to two-factor authentication. So two-factor authentication is also a part of multi-factor authentication only. Okay, so here it is comprised of a three steps. Okay, something you know, okay, something you possess. Consider you possess a date of birth, my date of birth is so and so. They might ask you some security question, right, at times. So that is one of the steps in multi-factor authentication. And something you are, like a mobile number. So first thing, something you know is your mobile number or your username. Next, something you possess, something you are, okay, I confirm I am Dilip and I accept the terms and condition. Okay, so this is the multi-factor authentication. Next, as I told you, Azure Directory is an enterprise identity services, provides single sign-on and multi-factor authentication. Okay, we explained the concept, we saw the concept of single multi-factor authentication. So Azure Active Directory does the same thing. It has a database, it verifies your username and password only. But you are not maintaining the database. You are just adding the users onto that particular database, and that database is maintained by someone. Okay, so this is the concept of Azure AD. These provides, right, certain facilities. So these facilities like single sign on. So I'll just explain what is single sign on. Conditional access, multi-factor authentication. So multi-factor authentication we saw, and it's a single identity platform. So basically we don't have to go to, okay, go to microsoft.com, login, come back here, go to outlook.com, login, come back here. It's one login, one step login. So if you saw that time, right, in my incognito, I just log into one step, one here, rest all automatically, everything whatever this login was taken automatically took. This is basically single identity. Okay, developer tools makes it easy to integrate identity into application and services. Perfect. Definition wise we are done. Now there are some terminologies, right? What is the single sign on and what is this multi conditional access, so on. So let's just come to single sign on. So consider I have my application over here. Okay, so this is my UI. Okay, UI, and this is my backend. Okay, this is, consider I am application, a user is accessing one more backend. So this is the scenario, backend one, backend two, or consider this only, we accessed only one site here, everything is considered. Why everything you can access it? How it is basically single sign on enables it. So once you authenticate, right, first once you authenticate with using AD, correct? Once you authenticate, what happens? You use UI. So you are here, user ID and pass. So this authentication is signed. So this handshake happening via some claims saying that okay, you're authorized, this user is authorized to use this service. Okay, this is done. Now if I access this, right, some application too, I should not again be asked to log in, right? So then that's a failure of single identity service. So what happens is once I log in, these claims are stored in cookies, and this same claims are used to access this application too. So with one signing only, I can access multiple application which fall under the same identity category. So if you see here, right, um, I just logged in over here. So this also falls under Microsoft category only, Active Directory. After that, I logged in here. After that, I logged in here. So if I log in here forms also, it should work. It should not ask me any credentials again and again. See, here it's asking because it falls under probably a different, not, it doesn't come under Azure AD. It probably comes under Microsoft AD or something like that. Okay. So Okay, next is conditional access. So once signal this we saw, and next is conditional access. So what is conditional access? Is Azure Active Directory can allow or deny certain requests based on the certain conditions. So basically, you have a signal here. So signal is a login. So decision is taken. So decision is basically taken on certain signals. So signals is user group or membership. Probably he belong to certain group of people. So he belong to a tester or maintenance team. For them, it should not be able to log in. Okay, login. One. Next, IP location. Probably if I am accessing it somewhere from where it's not supposed to access. IP location. Third, device. What kind of device you are using? Probably if you are using older version of mobile, then it should not allow you to access. What kind of application you are using, and the amount of risk detection. So all these things you can use with the conditional access. Okay, then you can enforce. Okay, enforcement is basically allow or deny, that's it. Okay, so now Azure governance methodology is basically establishing certain policies, rules on a resource. Okay, so here basically there are multiple things. So role-based access control is one of them. So what is this role-based access control? Is, as I told you that time, key vault, right? So here, if I am the wait, let me just go to this blob, and I can go to access control. So you can decide add a certain user to a certain group, and only you can access it. Okay, only users of this group can access this particular application. So this, you define a role for a particular user, and based on this role you define an access level for this resource. So that is overall known as role based access control. So how to do that? You just go to access control, view my access here. So I am probably I don't have anything. I am a classic administrator, okay, service administrator, because this is my account. So what I do, I just add it. So add a role assignment. Role assignment are basically of three types: owner, contributor, and reader. Owner has every access to add, delete everything. Contribute every access, apart from he can't delete the resources, or he can't add the new people to this particular resource. And reader is just come, read the services and go. Okay, so that is the level of access, role based access control. Else there are many according to the resource level also, you can choose them also, but these three play the major role. Okay, as I told you, role-based access control, fine-grained access management, segregate duties within the team. So you can create a dev team, tester team, so and the admin team. So admin team becomes the owner, dev team becomes the contributor, and tester team just becomes the reader. So this is overall the segregated duty enables access to the portal, controlling the access to it. So you can, like, okay, as I told you, you can decide based on their access, their duties. You can go ahead and give them the access. Okay, so as roles are generally owner, reader, and contributor. Okay, resource lock. So resource lock is basically I don't want to delete a resource at any point of time by any mistake also. So what I do is I go ahead and create a resource lock. So resource lock is basically protection of your resources from accidental deletion. So admin also might come and delete it someday, right, by mistake. Okay, so it should be prevented that way. And manage locks at subscription, resource group, or individual resource level within a portal. Okay, so there are two types of locks. Okay, read, update, and delete. So cannot delete. So if it's a read lock, you can't delete it. You can update it. You can yeah, you can read the things, you can update the things, but you can't delete it. Read only is you can just read the resources, you can't update it, neither you can delete it. Okay, so these are types of locks, and how you can find them? You can just go to any of the source over here. You can find something called locks, and you can just add a lock. Okay, lock name is xyz, and read only and delete. So these kind of locks you can add it. Next is tags. So yesterday I told you, right, when billing comes, I just went ahead and added a tag. So tags like creates a kind of a it kind of creates an identity for this. Why you wear a tag in college? It's like you're showing, right, identity tag. Like you go and I'm telling, okay, I'm this so and so person. So same way tag works. So if you see here, for one of the resources I have given, they have given owner is Joe, department is marketing, and environment is production. So when billing cost center, they can tell, okay, this department is marketing, the cost center when they bill these resources according to the marketing resource. Okay, so it generally name key value pair. Okay, so very useful while terms of billing. One more use case is you have n number of resources. Okay, so you are creating an automatic script. So what automatic script, what it does is it runs in application. It deletes all the resources which are older than 1 week. All the resource group deletes it older than 1 week. Now you have some resource group you don't want it to be deleted. Okay, now what you do, you go and you give a tag name for that. Okay, keep important is equal to true. Now while this script, right, while writing the script, I'll write some logic saying that okay, for all the resource groups where the tag is there, where important is equal to true, don't delete these resources. So this is one of the use case of the tags. Okay, now Azure policy is basically you set the policy, you enforce the policy saying that okay, when I create this, when I create a certain resources, right? Some more, some steps needs to be done, some policies needs to be done, and so on. So Azure policies, you can set it. Um, yep. So yeah, just give me a second. Okay. So Azure policies enforce organizational standards and access compliances at scale. Okay. So basically, you can set the policy at the resource level. You can set your custom policies and so on. Okay. Um, Last is the blueprints. So blueprints makes it possible for the development team. So like you have one resource group. Okay, you have certain parameters for this. Now what I'll do is, in that enterprise level, I have hundreds and thousands of these parameters to be applied. I can't go ahead and apply the same parameters to each and every resource group, right? So consider I need to assign tags, I need to assign the policies, I need to assign the roles. I can't go ahead and do it for thousands of subscriptions or thousands of resources, right? So in this case, blueprints comes into picture, where one click for under all, it's like a skill set. One set under all the children will be applied under that particular roof. Okay, so this is known as the blueprint. Okay, great. So we are done with the part two now. I think people are sleepy or end of the Sunday mood. So what let's do is let's continue it tomorrow. One small chapter is left, and with that, tomorrow we'll be completing the boot camp session. Also tomorrow we'll be looking at the um, some of the questions and how to answer, how to tackle the certification exam, how to clear it basically. So yep, so that's it for today. Any questions you have, I'm okay to take it for now.
So guys, if you have any other kind of queries, you can directly pin them in the comment section, or else we can take them tomorrow as well. I would request you all to please go through all the lectures which sir has taken in the past few days, because it's going to be really beneficial for you to crack the AZ 900 as well. And also we are going to conduct a quiz at the end of tomorrow's session, where the top three participants will be getting the swags from Microsoft. So, and the content is being taught to you in these days. So if you'll revise, it's going to give you dual benefits. And and also, if you have any other queries, you can directly put them in the live chat, and tomorrow sir will give you means tomorrow session is going to be a guidance, doubt solving, and the completion part. So you can take full advantage of it. Sir, we have a request. Can you please share the PPT with us?
Yeah, so I had shared it to the email, so probably you can have it there. So I had shared the format of all the ppts.
Okay, okay. Guys, you'll be
uh,
getting this PPTs on your registered mail IDs
so what you
within
can do is tomorrow you can send, so one more ppt is there, so after the completion
yeah.
you can send all the four together.
We'll
Yeah.
compile all the PPTs and then we'll mail it to you so you can refer to these. Prakash, actually, you can consider it, but a very little part of the topic is left. So we thought that we can take it tomorrow, and you can ask your doubts as well tomorrow. So we'll cover up the things and we'll wrap up tomorrow. So please go through the lectures and each and everything. If you have any other queries, you can kindly ask sir today as well and tomorrow as well. And sir, we have many reviews for the previous sessions. The students are saying, yeah, this one. Ghosh says, wonderful session yesterday.
Oh,
So
thanks, thank you. So I'm glad you liked it. So yep, so let's catch up tomorrow on these things and let's clarify all your doubts then. So request everyone to come tomorrow also, and I would like to thank all, because I know how it feels on Sunday evening to listen to some lecture. And yeah, great guys. Sure then, so
Yeah,
let's catch up tomorrow.
guys, thank you very much for being such a lovely and patient audience. And it was an amazing session with you all. And huge shout out to Dilip sir, who explained each and everything so thoroughly. So thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thanks,
And we would
thanks for
love to have you for another sessions as well. And you
sure,
guys
sure.
can please join our Discord server where we are going to conduct the quizzes every Friday and after the boot camps as well, and get notified about the other upcoming boot camps and the initiatives. And also, you can get the community support. See you guys tomorrow. Till then, bye bye. Take care. See
Sure,
ya.
bye bye, stay safe.